cake batter. Over mixing the cake batter will make your cake harden up a little bit. The next thing that we're going to add is going to be vanilla, coffee and rum, which are all our flavoring agents. So coffee, we're starting with vanilla, which is 8 grams, which would be approximately 1.5 teaspoon of vanilla. Next, we're doing coffee. So whenever we add coffee, if you're using instant coffee, never use the powder directly. We always make like a decoction where you take coffee and you add water. So in about 2 tablespoons of coffee, add around 60 grams, that is 1/4 cup of water, and it'll give you a nice coffee shot. Use that always to put it as a flavoring element. This is not brewed. Only when you add the water will your coffee get brewed and you'll get the flavor throughout. So brewing of the coffee is very important, and the water has to be warm. It should not be like boiling. It has to just be warm water. Okay? The coffee you can use is any instant coffee. You can also take a coffee shot from the coffee machine if you have, or also use a filter coffee. Okay? We need to add 30 grams, so which is going to be around 2 tablespoons. Also, the flavor of this you can decide on how you like. If you want a more intense flavor or something like that, you can add more or less. Okay? We're also going to add rum. This gives a nice adult profile to this dessert, which is usually present, but a lot of times people skip it if you all have different dietary requirements. But essentially, a tiramisu will always have a flavor profile of rum. What tiramisu exactly is a combination of coffee, cocoa, that is a little bit of dusted cocoa, and mascarpone with rum. Okay, that is the essential flavor profile which is there in a tiramisu. We now have our cake batter almost ready. We are going to check the consistency, and if the consistency feels a little tighter for a cake, you add a little bit of milk or water to adjust the consistency. The batter should be a nice flowy batter. I feel it's breaking a little bit, so a little bit of water is needed. Your flour, depending on your flour, your water would change. I'm adding a little bit of warm water, but it's okay to use room temperature water or milk for consistency. It's always going to be in a small quantity for adjusting the consistency of the batter. It has to be a smooth flowy batter. I'm not using a whisk now, just folding everything so that we don't overmix our batter. Okay, we've got a nice flowy consistency now. I'm now taking my tray and pouring my batter in the tin, and we shall keep it to bake. I'm spreading the batter evenly. Okay, we're now going to keep this to bake. My gloves are not going, just do the plus to 25 minutes. out and shut it once. Okay. Everyone all clear so far? Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be the milk mixture for our tiramisu, for soaking the cake. The milk soak. Okay. So in a bowl, we're going to start with taking mascarpone cheese. That's the first ingredient. Mascarpone cheese. It has to be softened and at room temperature to avoid any lumps. Sure. Next, we are going to add is the condensed milk. The sweetness coming in the milk mixture is going to be from the condensed milk itself. Next thing going in is fresh cream, Amul fresh cream. Whisking that into. Lastly, we're going to add the milk slowly. Could you pour? We need around 200. You can pour a little more. Yeah. So this is the base of our Cheshire milk flavored with mascarpone. And now to this we're going to add additional coffee flavor and the rum, so that when the soak happens in the cake, we have an even flavor seeping in through. Okay? Around half a teaspoon of rum is what I've added to have a very mild flavor, because in our cake also we have the flavor already happening. I'm going to just have this poured in a pouring jar. Can I get the cake now? No, we have to soak it. So here I have bought the cooled cake. What I've done is flipped it upside down. And I've put cling wrap, so that if there's any kind of a leakage that happens, it's still inside, intact. And wait for the milk to soak for a while. Okay? Till we prepare the topping. You have to essentially let it soak for 2 hours to get like a nice intense thing. But right now, whatever time we get to soak, we're going to do the soak. Okay? And additionally, when your tasters, I'll put additional milk so that you still get the flavor. So now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a fork and prick our cake. So prick it evenly so that all the milk seeps through. Just pricking it with a fork. Also, essentially, if you do this when the cake is warm, a little warm, the soaking will be, of course, better, but it should not be hot. Slightly warm, like 1 hour after baking, if you do, is the most optimal for your flavor. And you should always do the soaking as per how much the cake is soaking in. If it's a tub or something you're setting in, then you can have a standardized measurement. But whenever you're soaking otherwise, you need to always check how much the cake is soaking in. I have soaked about half the mixture, and now I'm going to let this go in the fridge till we prepare the topping. Okay? We're now going to start doing the topping. Thank you so much. The topping again we are doing with the mascarpone cheese because that's the flavor profile that we want again. So in a bowl, I'm going to start with taking mascarpone cheese. In case if you don't find mascarpone sometimes, you can also use cream cheese. If you don't find, traditionally you should be using mascarpone only. In case if you have any doubts or anything, you all can ask. Okay, you all can just put your hands up and ask. Next, we're putting icing sugar. Make sure that your sugar is always sifted. It has to be sifted icing sugar because if there are lumps created in the mascarpone, they are not going to go away. So always make sure that you sift your sugar. We're now going to use the electrical beater and we're going to beat in the sugar and the mascarpone. Make sure you do not overbeat this or else your mascarpone will split up. Okay, so it has to be very minimal. And at a slow speed,